What do you make of the ECHR?
Why was the ECHR? Why did the ECHR come about? Why did the European Convention on Human Rights come about? It came about as a response, essentially, to the Holocaust. We had the Holocaust in the late 30s and 40s, and then we had the European Declaration on Human Rights. Sorry, the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, which was in 1949, which is basically a more global contract. And then from that, you had regional contracts about human rights, in which ours was the European Convention on Human Rights. So it was essentially a response to the Holocaust on the basis that it was decided that there should be limits on what governments could do to people, because governments can do bad things. And I would ask your listeners right now, do you trust politicians in general right now to always make the best decisions for you? Because they make decisions that affect every area of your life, in areas that you might be extremely vulnerable. Maybe you've got a disabled child. Maybe you've got a vulnerable adult who's older. Maybe you've got somebody who has a particular religious faith that makes them particularly vulnerable in the area that they're living. All kinds of things. It's not just about immigrants, it's not just about minorities. It's about our basic rights. Like, do you have the right to a lawyer? Those sorts of things. Do you have the right to go on protest? The right to vote? Those sorts of things are incredibly affected. And do you trust?
Ridiculous.
Oh, okay. So in the last couple of years, if you say it's ridiculous that our country would ever violate human rights, it was the Conservative government passed a law which set noise limits on the ability to shout at a protest, made it so that if you
passed a law. It passed a law. What you're talking about here is people who are democratically elected choosing the laws of the country. I am interrupting you because I'm afraid that you're trying to lie to the British people here. This is ridiculous. You're invoking the Holocaust here. What you're trying to say, you're trying to equate in some way that if you don't have the ECHR, that you're going to get some another Holocaust. And this is, I'm afraid, absolutely outrageous.
Well, Femi, the point is, by your own admission, Femi, the point is that it was Conservatives who were voted, who were given a mandate, who passed that law using the mandate they had been given. That's our democratic process, isn't it?
Yeah, our democratic process is not democratic. Objectively speaking, in pretty much every single... allow me to finish.
Hold on, James. Hold on. Let's let him finish.
Inappropriate is foreign judges.
James, hold on. Let's let him finish.
James? In every single election in the UK, a party with a minority of the vote gets a majority of seats in Parliament, which means that they can do whatever they want without having to listen to the other parties, which means the majority of votes went to the other parties have no effect on policy. So in the UK, most votes don't actually shape policy. And so a party with a minority of the vote, for example, the Conservatives had 44% of the vote last time. In this election, the Labour had 34% of the vote, yet they have 62% of the seats in Parliament. So the majority of votes, the remaining 66% of voters, have no effect on what happens. So if Labour passes a law right now which severely restricts human rights, it will not be a democratic thing. It will be something that represents a tiny minority of the wishes of the country, and it could take rights away from millions of people. So there need to be safeguards that prevent governments from doing horrendous things to people. And the point that I was making is about what's been done. The Police Sentencing and Courts Act said that you basically can't shout loud enough that might put somebody nearby at risk of feeling distress, which is entirely subjective, which means that essentially the right to protest has been severely limited.
I'm afraid right now
is the UK government. Over the last 18 months, the UK government has been supporting Israel on a bombing campaign which has killed roughly 50,000 people.
I'm afraid you are trying to pull the wool over the eyes of people here.
James, no. You're the one that's constantly speaking over me because you don't want people to hear what I'm saying.
Yes, I am. I'm very happy.
Well, James, now let's let Femi finish, please, and then we can hear from you, James. Femi, you finish your point.
Since 2015, we sold about 6.8 billion in weapons to Saudi Arabia, which has been bombing Yemen, and about 400,000 people have died in that conflict. We have been abusing human rights, not to mention what we're doing with Israel, killing 50,000 people. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for the Israeli government because of what they've done. We are actively complicit in that sort of thing. So to suggest that UK politicians can always be trusted when it comes to human rights is simply farcical, because there is so much blood on our hands that will never be washed off.